Ready for?
But this whole thing.
It's already started, bro. I think we've had conversations multiple times.
Yeah, of course.
Every time I meet you, it's just like, okay, this is what's happening with me. This is what's going on. And I think of you as one of the most honest people about what it takes to try and build something.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 10 years plus.
Correct.
15?
Nah, maybe. Look, I think Wing Republic 10 years, but anything else has been in between the corporate gigs,
Yeah.
But being fully focused on entrepreneurship, 10 years.
Sure. What does it take to try and build something for that long and make it last?
Yo, a lot of tears, bro. A lot of tears. Look, I think above everything else, you gotta be willing to do the dirty work, I mean, I've done gigs where I've had to drive, I've had to cook, I've had to sell. Literally, there isn't anything about my business that I don't know, So it's all good and well that you're the boss, but you gotta get to a point where you can also be the cleaner, You can also be the guy that's a cashier type of vibe, So what it takes, really, everything and anything, I mean, podcasts like this, for example, are also a good platform, to showcase what you're all about, radio interviews. Like, it really, there isn't a formula. Like, truth be told, there is no formula. You just gotta get in, skin in the game, skin in the game, and then that's what it takes, really and truly.
And skin in the game is just like not being an observer of what other people are doing, but actually putting yourself in a situation where you actually start building, where you actually start making the recipe for the wings for the first time.
Correct.
When you can you even think back to the time where you were like, okay, I'm actually testing out, recipes, spices, formulas for what will eventually become Wing Republic?
So here's a crazy thing, though. I never set out to just do these different recipes so that I can open this business, I literally went to a market and then saw an opportunity, moved from there to buying a grill the next week. And then we tested out a few things using like generic spices. The next month, I mean, literally this was in July when I went to the market. August, I think there was no market. September the 5th, the 6th, I was already operating. You know what I mean? So even with that, I get feedback on the wings are undercooked. The wings are this and that and that. And everything else I developed while I was in the business. So I never set out to have this grand idea of even opening a shop. For me, this thing was a side hustle, This thing was literally a side hustle. Like you go with your wife the next minute, with the kids going to market, there's an opportunity, then voila, you got this business. And that's how the business started.
Yeah. So before you even tried to do this, you worked in corporate at a lot of different companies.
Correct.
What were you doing there?
So my background is marketing. So I've got a BCom honors in marketing. So I've worked in sales, I've worked in business development, I've worked in marketing, So I mean, I've worked from SAB, SABC, Heineken, I've worked at CEDA, I've worked at NAVF, So I've literally been around doing everything around marketing, whether business development, whether marketing, sales, you name it, I've done it.
How important is like that experience across different parts of a business and in marketing? How important has that sort of experience and the learnings and the things that you were taking from that been to how you run your business?
So I always say that work for someone in order to understand how business operates, So having worked for that, I mean, there's a lot of etiquette, like boardroom etiquette, like the emails, the conversation, the language, like you learn those things. But most importantly, it also allows you to learn using someone else's mind, especially when you're working, So you know what not to do. I know that I can never be the strict boss. Like every time I walk into a shop, people must pay, because I know what that did for me in my different experiences, Like you want people to be happy, especially with us, it's a service environment. So you don't want someone serving you and they're upset because an hour, 2 hours ago, something happened, you know what I mean? Or especially that has to do with me. So we're in the service industry. So I think having worked for different organizations, I've also picked up stompies, if I can call it that, from different organizations. Okay, this is what you can do better. This is what you can't do, etc., etc. And fortunately, because I now ended up in the hospitality business, I now know that, okay, cool, SAB can give you that. Heineken can give you that. Oh no, but this one can't give you that. And name it, you know what I mean? Like also having worked at the radio station, so I also know how to navigate my way around the media, navigate my way around platforms like this, So those things help in the bigger scheme of things when you're building a business, because, good to know that you got a great product, but are people aware of the product? People coming to buy it, And how do you communicate with your suppliers? So corporate sort of teaches you those kind of things.
Yeah. So going back to that, just like this is a side hustle, you're working in your corporate job. When is it that you go, okay, I've put enough into this business, buying a grill, starting to hire people to be able to do these things when you're not there, maybe, to going, okay, I want to run this as a business?
So here's the thing, right? So I work at Metro FM as brand manager, right? So my job was crazy, man. Like we travel over SA, Metro FM is the biggest urban radio station in the country. I don't know that now, right? So what happens is that I never get time to do anything but this gig, which is a Metro FM gig. And then I leave the job, go to a market like I've explained earlier, and then I see an opportunity. In Soweto, there's no one selling chicken. Then we start obviously selling wings, And true to form, as we get into it, like we do markets the next day, we do events, then we gradually get into corporate. So at the time, it's just an event. And I think I'd left Metro FM. I was marketing manager now at the NVF. So I've left my corporate gig. I have left the Metro FM gig. I'm now at the NVF. So it's like a job in a sense that Monday to Friday at work, Saturday, Sundays, 0 days, So gradually we get into that. We gradually get into like events and markets, etc. So over time, the popularity also speaks. Like we set up an event, we sell out. We always sell out at events. But in most of those cases, customers come to us and say, "Where do I find you? Where are you outside of this event?
Because I want this."
100%. So that now plants a seed to say, but what happens on a Tuesday? Or sometimes customers say, "I don't like the event that you're trading at. I don't necessarily want to leave my house, go to that event to buy your food." So really at the time, I'm just thinking, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to open a shop. Maybe there is. And then that takes us from, we started in 2014. So by 2017, November, I'm now opening a shop, and with everything else that I've invested from a timing and building this brand, I'm thinking, you know what? If I'm able to make half my salary, in some months I'd match up my salary from what I was earning on my 9-to-5 gig. Like maybe it's time to quit this thing and give it a shot and see what it really can do for me. And I think in 2017, literally, I handed on the day that I opened, and the day that we launched the shop, I served my resignation because I thought, hey man, I'm here now. Let me just give it a shot. I can always go back. You know what I mean? Like I can always go back and find Span because I've got the experience, But I thought, let me give it a shot.
Sure. But it still takes a lot of bravery, right? Like,
of course.
This is South Africa. The unemployment is real. Like the uncertainty of business is a tough thing.
True.
But you have like a level of conviction that says, okay, I know this is going to work.
True.
Did you have that?
I didn't. And here's a crazy story. So I opened in the 1st of November in Braam. My zero experience when it comes to market assessment literally got the best of me. So I opened a shop in November. The students are gone. We've got a new shop. At the time, there's literally my biggest competitor, which is Smokehouse, which is literally down the road. So I opened in November. December, there's no people in Braam. Jan is naturally slow. And in Feb, I'm like, I must go find a job now.
Sure.
Let me tell you a crazy story. So in between me opening the shop, mind you, I quit my job in November of 2017. I was already looking for a job, I think in April of 2018. I'd gotten a job at Philip Morris as a sales rep. If it wasn't for my wife, if it wasn't for my mother, I'd have literally closed the shop and went to work. And, so when I spoke to my family, the whole thing was that you cannot, bro. Like you cannot now at the first sight of toughness, of difficulty, then you want to quit and, So literally, man, I stuck it out then, I stuck it out in 2018 and things started turning, in 2018, like towards the tail end of 2018. So I knew at the back of my mind that this could work, but was I convinced that it worked. I had no idea. But that's what entrepreneur is about. Like, if you feel like it could work, give it a chance, because you always miss 100% of the shots that you haven't taken, So I literally took the chance and I was like, hey, we're onto something. And then it sort of picked up 2018, around August, one of the other things. So what happens is the owner or part owner of Smokehouse is somewhere in Greece or wherever that he was. He takes his phone and he posts this,
I remember this. It
That
was a video of a guy on the beach.
Correct.
A white guy on the beach.
And he says... Exactly. so this thing happens, and then obviously Twitter is Twitter, right? Then the folks on Twitter pick up who this guy is, what he owns, and then it was chaos from there. So literally, our shop was there was me, Braamfontein, store manager, I think my sister, So we used to do this thing, man, and we'd open and close. I don't think we made more than $1,000, As tough it was, it was tough, So this incident happens, and then this guy is trending on social media. And now the Smokehouse in Braam is trending. And Dr. Stembile Mbete posts on Twitter and he tags us like, forget about the guy. There's a black-owned restaurant which is literally down the road. And he tags us. Bro, I think we trended for like 3 days in a row. This thing happened on a Thursday. Friday, we could see that, okay, there was pickup. The Saturday, we had a queue.
Sure.
Literally, this thing didn't take long. Like, we had a queue around the shop. I had to go find chairs, bro. I had to go buy chairs and stuff. And literally, that's when we were up, And literally, things started picking up from there. Like, obviously, we'd refine our menus, change our menus, but it got busy, And I just ran with it. 2018, that happens. 2019, we opened a shop in Pretoria because now this was busy. And it was like, open here, 2018, open a shop. In COVID, 2020, we had bought our first food truck. 2021, we opened another shop. So literally, because of like something as racist as that, it allowed us to literally run.
Yeah.
So that's,
But I think about this happening to someone else who wasn't prepared, who didn't have their systems in place, who didn't have, who wasn't showing up even to make $1,000 a day with a fully fledged restaurant, which costs way more than that, I know.
Dude, yeah.
So, like, when that moment happens, were you guys prepared for what happened after that? The community that rallied and said, no, this is a better choice because it's run by someone that we know, we trust, someone who's also been working so hard for so long. And this moment, I think sometimes it's called providence or just like luck, whatever it is. What are you chalking it up to? But also, were you guys prepared?
The truth of the matter is, look, we were prepared. One, because of location. We were prepared because we were open. We were never prepared for the numbers. But like any other entrepreneur, when the people started coming in, we find more seats to accommodate the people, We had to hire more people we had to hire more staff members to try and accommodate the influx of the people that were coming in, news channels were interviewing us, radio, So that in itself allowed us to get onto those platforms and push the brand, So we were ready because we had the shop open. Because this thing could have happened and you didn't have a shop.
And you had quit in April.
Exactly my point, you know what I mean? So anything could have happened really.
Sure.
Anything could have happened really.
How important is that sort of family aspect to being an entrepreneur? Like you're mentioning, you spoke to your wife, you spoke to your mother, and in April, you were ready to quit. You're ready to pack up, let's be out of this. And then you go, they are the ones that are saying, hey, you should stick this out. They're giving you that support. How important has that family support been to your business? But further from that is like the friends and the community that's built around the business now.
So here's the thing though. So you quit your job, you try and chase this dream, And with you chasing this dream, there's certain sacrifices, there's certain things that you can't do, as either a dad, a husband, a brother, a son, or whatever, Because now, i.e., when you're employed, there's guaranteed paycheck. There's some months when you are an entrepreneur where you don't have money. So family support plays a role in that sense. There is that as well financially. There's also the support. In some instances, you can't even go to a kid's swimming lesson because you have to do the work. Someone to do that, you know. For example, you can't be everywhere all the time. You know, family has to chip in. You know, because those are people that you trust and those are people that see your vision. You know, so but psychologically is the most important thing because entrepreneurship is hard. Like, bro, you have to literally wake up every day, self-motivate to say, okay, today is a better day. And it becomes quite difficult if you have no one to speak to and you really have no support because you also want someone that says, it'll be okay. Keep going, it'll be okay, you know? Because you're also not a tank, you're a human, you know? You've got feelings, you've got this emotion. And if something goes south at the shop, you want to get home and speak to your wife and say, yo, dude, what a shit day today was. You know what I mean? Excuse my French, but you know what I mean? But you want to get there and speak to somebody. You know, and that's how family is important for everybody else, I guess, as an entrepreneur. You know, that's why, for me, they play a huge role in that sense because it is not easy. You know, we always make it look easy when you post about it, but it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is never easy, bro.
How do you navigate those difficult times where you are full of doubt and you're talking about self-motivation? That's not a natural thing for most people.
Yeah.
Some people need sources of something, like some proof that, okay, things will get better.
Yeah.
And I can see those things happening. That time between April and August where you are in the shop consistently, people are not coming in and you're seeing like things just stagnating. How do you navigate that psychologically?
Look, it's not easy, one, but it's also maybe reading makes sense. Also looking at podcasts, looking at what other people have been through, you know. It's always easier when you have conversations. I think your starting point with this podcast is that I tend to share a lot of stories because I also, with me talking to different people, yourself, and a lot of other friends within my circle, also helps with the motivation. Because the biggest reason above everything else is the why. Why did I get started? What am I trying to build, you know? And that in itself is motivation because I'm also trying to build a business. I'm trying to build a legacy. I'm trying to build something I can look back 20 years from now and say, that is me. You know what I mean? So it is that, you know? But I think speaking to people is people that are in the same space. And I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. I always WhatsApp call and whatever. And we share these war stories to say how difficult entrepreneur is or how great it is. Because it's not all bad. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it if it was all bad.
Of course.
You know, but the reality is that it's the circle that you speak to. You know, people that you can always pick up the phone and say, hey, dude, I need a loan of $5,000. I'm stuck with XYZ. And those are people that says, sharp, here it is, keep going. And that's all you want, someone that says, keep going.
Yeah. You know, I think about how you started this with the markets and then the events and then your customers being the one that say, hey, we need a space, we need a place. And I think that's more of a community building strategy when it comes to building a business where you're growing with your community.
Yeah.
They are the ones that are asking for more, that want to see you in the right spaces.
Correct.
That also back you from corporates, right?
Yeah.
People that work in corporates that say, no, I know a guy who can do food at this event.
Correct. And
stuff
those are your people. Really and truly, those are your people. Because it's always that lady, the guy that buys, i.e. at Delicious, that, hey, give me a number, we're doing a function that will book you. It's always, you are so right. It's literally that community where someone, a random person will say, give me your number, I've got this. I've gotten so many gigs, a lot of gigs, from people that come from the existing community, you know, where you're in a queue at Delicious, like, hey, I love your food, we're doing a year-end function. Are you able to do it? Plus, the fact that I got a food truck is a plus, you know, because aesthetically and, you know, differentiation from everyone else, I guess it's what works for us.
Yeah. And outside of just those people who are backing you and helping you get into these gigs and stuff, there's the broader community of customers that just love your business. Right? I know people that are traveling from Gauteng, from Deep Soweto, from even before you had the shop in Pretoria, from Pretoria,
Correct.
coming to your store.
Correct.
What does it take to build a business that other people are that invested in seeing succeed? Because I think it's more than just wigs for me.
I totally agree with you. And I think I've always believed in the notion that it's not only about wings. What am I building? Like, there's got to be a cool factor. Because people can buy wings anywhere, bro. But there's got to be a cool factor. I mean, I think with us is you walk into the shop, there's background music. You walk into the shop, the owner's there. You walk into the shop, I mean, we're dressed in like nice uniform type of thing. You know what I mean? So that's one. Number two is that we also try and seed customers from existing events. So the fact that we have a shop in Braam and we're able to do 3 or 4 events every weekend, for example, you know what I mean? So that also allows us to get the word out there. And not only by virtue of your traditional marketing, which is like social media, radio and TV. So literally I am at event X and here's the food, you can taste it. You want more of it? I'm based in Braamfontein, number 60 PS Street, So that in itself works, you know what I mean? Like literally it's that whole nucleus that works where you got a shop, you got food trucks, you do events, and on top of that, you still do your traditional marketing. You get what I mean? So that's what it takes to build it, But I think the biggest thing for us has always been the events. The events, the end of year function, because we try, or not even we try, that's where we get a lot more people tasting our food. Whereas a traditional restaurant don't necessarily have food trucks. They don't necessarily go out to events, So I think for us, that's what works. And I think because we started in the eventing space, I think that's where people know us or rather that's where people know the Wing Republic from, one. But that's also our biggest strength.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really how to do it, I guess,
Yeah. I think back at COVID times when you made like a very big like call of like starting a shop in Durban.
I
remember, just post-COVID.
Just
post-COVID. When most people were trying to shut down and like get small as much as possible, you were expanding. What was the thinking behind that? But also, how did you navigate like funding of of new stores across the country?
You know what? I think the biggest thing, it's always been, there's a notion like I always believe in that. Lena is exactly the same. I literally work with it because social media, you post one thing, you post about a platter, for example. People in Devon, please open a shop in Devon. Literally every post like open a shop in Devon. So COVID happens, great. But because I'd saved up some money, I was able to then say, cool, let me just take a chance and open in KZN. It was literally bootstrapped, no funding, nothing of the sort. But I think it was just driven by consumers that said, hey, bro, open in KZN. Pretoria was the same, where people just literally inbox you and say, yo, there's a space at Complex, this and that. Open a shop there. So even post-COVID, it was just that. And I think I was just expanding because in my mind, COVID will come to an end at some point. So rather get into those spaces immediately after COVID. One, you can negotiate better rates in terms of leases. But secondly is that post-COVID, people do want to get out. People want to try something different, And you're able to negotiate better trading terms with your suppliers. Because obviously they'll spend almost a year of not trading in any sort, whether it's the furniture guys, liquor guys, whatever. They've spent all this time, they haven't been trading. So if you say to them, hey, I'm opening a shop in KZN, you're able to negotiate based on that. But also getting into those spaces. I mean, who would have thought a brand I started in Towoza in the Eastern would have a shop on Florida Road? And I guess with me, it was just driven by Kitlabona.
Yeah.
But also just putting the weight behind Kitlabona, and that's why I went and decided to open the shop. Unfortunately, we had to close the shop because of a lot of other factors that happened on Florida Road, The AKA shooting, for example, was also a big factor, especially affecting Florida Road, So, but those are some of the things that attributed to us closing, for example, in KZN. But I'm happy that I went there and I tried it out so that, look outside when someone says, open a shop in KZN, I can say,
I've learned something.
I've learned something from it, And the fact that we opened a shop all the way in KZN, but we're a Joburg-based business. Literally, we had to move with stock from Joburg to KZN, but the car that we're driving had to come back empty. So those are some of the biggest lessons. Like just spending a lot of money on petrol to literally drop off because stock is cheaper in Joburg than it was in KZN. So we literally have to move with our own stock because we wanted to maintain this consistency. Those are some of the lessons that I've learned when you're opening anything outside of Gauteng, because most of our suppliers are here.
Yeah. What other learnings did you have from expanding, whether it's Pretoria, Durban? How differently is the business to operate when it goes from one location to 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And how did you learn from doing multiple events to be able to do that too?
I guess infrastructure, So I guess infrastructure is a big thing. So eventing side of the business has always been our strong point, Wing Republic has always been an event-based company, always do like these events and markets, So how I navigated that is obviously empowering within. So for example, most of my store managers, whether Pretoria, Braam, or Rosebank, it's people that have worked with me before. So I didn't hire anyone from the outside and made them a store manager. So literally hire a waiter that's got the skill and the know-how and empower them to become a waiter. So they already know how we operate as a business. So that makes the transition easy. So generally what I did was take existing staff from Braam, maybe get a manager or maybe get like a senior waiter. Then you hire people in Pretoria, but these two are already experienced in terms of how we operate. So that makes the transition a lot easier. You get what I mean? So that is how we got to it. But because the eventing has always been the core of our business, we didn't struggle with it, because that's always been. The struggle was obviously the shop and trying to maintain stock level, service quality, But what it takes also takes a lot from you as an entrepreneur, because the people in Pretoria want to see you. People in KZN still want to see you, as an entrepreneur. Whether it's customers, whether it's staff, but you just gotta be visible, So that's essentially, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's essentially how.
Yeah, it does. Speaking about just the staff, those are people who really care about making sure you feel welcome, you feel you have a good experience.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot of your own values being transmitted to them. How deeply do you think about empowering the people that work with you and really helping them go from, whether it's from waiter to a senior waiter to then becoming an assistant store manager, and really helping them grow as they're part of the business?
How do I go from that? So look, I think our initial conversation was the corporate side of the business. So some of my own experiences have always been, you work so hard for company A, and then when there's time for promos, they hire someone from the outside. So I've lived through that, So I don't want my staff going through the same experience that I've went through, So I try and empower people from within. So even without a shop open, there's always a senior waiter that understands the system from a management point of view. So we train people beforehand so that in the event that we do open a shop, there's someone that's capable of running a business. But people are motivated. I mean, it's all good and well that you work for the Wing Republic, but people work for families. So money is a key motivator. When you do well, pay people well, so that in the event that you can't pay them as well, or in the event that the business is not doing as well, they do know that when things are good, things are really good for all of us. So I try and build that within my business, to say, look, yeah, you might steal from me, as bad as it is, but you stealing a cup affects everyone else. Because if we're not making money, nobody's going to stay in this job for too long. We're going to close shops and families are going to suffer. So I try and build a community within the shop so that even if you don't see me at the shop, you see one of my staff members, you have to get the same experience that you would have gotten if I'm there. And also, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't, entrepreneur, build a business, allow it to make money. So I don't want to be self-employed, like literally cash register and what, like build these things so that other people can take after you and then you can do other stuff as well, So they need to also buy into that vision that whatever that I'm building, yes, it is for me, but it benefits you, it benefits everyone else within your own family structure.
Yeah. You talk about just people wanting to see you in the shop. It feels better, or like, I feel like, okay, yeah, it's still the Wing Republic. I know if I see you.
Correct. I guess it's always that, like us as Dakis, build a Wing Republic, you can have the best branding and whatever. Dakis always say, ke ya ko Tlhompho. I don't, like you've seen that. Like you can brand your place and call it whatever. It's always Hamashudu. You know? So people want to buy into you. And as amazing as that is, you have to show up for that as well, because people are coming to support you. This is literally my boardroom when you're at the shop. This is how I live, you know? So I need to also be visible.
Yeah.
You know, so because people come, I mean, I've heard plenty times someone calls, hey Joe, ugo I'm not at the shop. Negere fita go wena. Mara because I will get fita next time. 9 out of 10 times, I'm on phone, where are you? I'm like, I'm at the shop. They'll pop in, they'll have conversations with me, they'll buy food, they'll buy drinks, and most importantly, they'll stay there longer than they initially intended. Because if you're not there, someone just maybe picks up a takeaway and leave. But if you're there, they'll buy a drink, they'll buy whatever. So even me being at the shop allows us to upsell, allows us to derive more value from our customers or friends, or, you know.
Do you worry that maybe that relationship, how it might limit you guys? Because you have so much capacity, right? Yeah. You're also a dad. You're also, a husband. And there's so much demands of life. You can't be at every shop, at Correct. Every opportunity. When someone calls and says, hey, I want to come through.
Yeah.
Do you think about those things?
I do. But I think at the moment, that's what works. I'm capitalizing on what works. I never think of a time when it won't necessarily work, So literally right now, I'm capitalizing on what works. And that's why I'll spend most of my time at the shop, above customers calling to check in on me. But our business is small, bro. Our business is, 10 years. We've had to open shops and close shops. We're also learning, So we're not at the point where we're on autopilot. So it needs me to always be there. Typical example is that after this meeting, I need to go buy stock.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally knee deep into the business. So it's fortunate in the sense that because I'm involved in it, everything works around as it should, I guess, because I'm at the shop, I need to deliver stock. I'm actively involved in my own business. And when people call you and say, hey, Joe, you are literally there. So it doesn't take anything from driving from one place to just go meet that person. You're already at the shop.
How important was it that you have experienced every part of your business, served the wigs, you've made them, you've driven to events, and having that much experience and investment so that when you do have this growth of different stores and all of that, you can train the people in the best possible way for them to be able to do that job. But also, what does it take to also trust people? The first time you need to hire someone to do the thing that you've been doing for the longest time in the way you do it. It takes a bit of trust. It takes a bit of, how do you do that?
Look, there's a typical saying that says hiring, guessing, firing is knowing. So you take a chance on people. You will definitely take a chance on someone. Some will disappoint you. Sometimes it works out and it is what it is, So that is the truth of it, So you'll trust someone, you'll hire them, you'll train them. They'll let you down, you have to let them go. Or sometimes you train a person and they turn out to be okay. I've got staff members that have worked with me ever since I opened the shop. Most of my kitchen staff, my core team that has worked with me from the beginning, So, and again, because you also have to have a life outside of their Wing Republic, in my case, you sort of need to trust people. And whether you like it or not, you have to trust people so that you can have a life outside of your business. Because you also need to learn from other spaces as well. You can't always be at the shop. It's simply impossible.
Yeah.
So you have to let go at some point and say, okay, I'm trusting you with the keys of my business. So I've been fortunate enough to say, so far, I've had people that are trustworthy and I've had people that want to see us do well. And I think that's really the essence of it.
Yeah. How do you deal with it emotionally when you have taken a chance on a great opportunity? You moved out to Durban and then you had to close it up for different reasons. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
With the disappointment?
Yeah.
Mashudu. You're an entrepreneur, bro. It's bound to happen. I think me personally, I always deal with it before I even deal with it, if I can call it that, right? So before I open a shop in Durban, I always work on the notion that what if it fails? You know, I'm making an example. I've got R1 million. Am I willing to risk it to open a shop in Durban? It'll work, great. If it doesn't work, I've lost $1 million. Keep it moving, you know what I mean? But you gotta, I guess, for any other entrepreneur, you have to deal with the failure before you deal with the successes, because that's most of the time as entrepreneurs, we're taking those risks. You know, we take risk. You know, so any small failure can't necessarily be a reflection of your business, a reflection of you. So deal with it. That okay, I'm buying this cup to sell for 20 rand. If it doesn't sell, I'm gonna get stuck with these cups. Sharp. How do I then move on? Do other stuff, because that's what it is. You fail, you rebuild. You fail, you rebuild until you get to a point where everything else works. Everything literally is a milestone every single day. You know, but I guess entrepreneurship is about it. Like how you deal with the closure of shops. Also, be non-emotional about it. Yes, you are losing money, you know, but be non-emotional about it. You're not the first person that will have a shop that closes. You're not the first person that has a business that fails. In fact, most of the times, a lot of entrepreneurs that we deem to be successful have failed all their lives with different businesses, you know. So who am I not to fail? So you also need to be cognizant of the fact that you're not special. You know, there's nothing special about you. Yes, you're running a business, but it can also fail. And the biggest thing is, what have you learned from your failure? That is always, you see, the takeaway is always it. Like your failure can't determine.
It can't be useless pay.
It can't be. Like you can't be, oh, I failed. Oh, life is bad. No. You're going to fail at one of the other things, whether it's business, even at work, you fail. You get given a task to say, Mashuru, do X, Y, Z, you fail. You know, like you have to accept failure. In order for you to grow, you have to accept failure. You have to accept the fact that I will fail at some point. You know, the one thing that you have to be mindful of, that failure can be a reflection of you. You can't say because I failed and therefore. I mean, at the moment, our shop in Braam is struggling. It used to be a flagship store, it's struggling. And it's not because the shop or something in particular happened. People don't have money in general. Our unemployment rate is sitting at 33%, you know? So, I mean, we in a student note, those kids that go to vets or whatever, they have parents that are employed. Some parents have even lost their jobs. So they don't even have as much disposable to come through and buy wings at the shop, for example, you know? So you gotta be cognizant of that it is, even when you fail, it's not a reflection of you. There's other determining factors. The question is, what do you then do as a business person to adjust, amend your business so that you can take it to the next level? Who would have thought that would survive COVID? I mean, 4 years later, is it 5 years, 2025? We're still here.
Sure. When the entrepreneurs that you talk to, and I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that probably just look at you and go, oh man, I want to learn from you. What's the advice that you're giving them about going into the business or going into entrepreneurship, especially now when the unemployment rate is what it is? Most people are just like, don't have a choice. I'm going to try something. What's the advice that you're giving them?
I always say, man, start small, fail small, you know? Because most of the time, you find that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially would-be entrepreneurs, they want to get into the market with a ready product. You can never be too ready, because you can design this thing and customers like, nah, it's not worth it. So sometimes get into the business and learn while you are doing. It's the easiest thing to do. Learn while you're doing, especially for what would be entrepreneurs. For entrepreneurs that are already at the level that I'm in, that have been in the game for X amount of years, it's also about being aware of your surrounding. You know, what is the big change? I mean, in my particular example, brick-and-mortar business might not necessarily be doing as great, but the events are doing great. Maybe let me capacitate my business to have more food trucks, have more gazebos, whatever, so that I can capitalize on events. Because whether the economy is bad or it's good, there's always events. And that's where the opportunity is for me. And I think with a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you're selling shoes or whatever, look at those trends as well, you know? So those are some of the things that you gotta be aware of your surrounding, your industry. You know, but most importantly, the economy that we operate in. the economy that we operate in is big. I mean, like I said, would-be entrepreneurs is get in the business. You learn as you go along. Literally. Because sometimes I feel like we get into this notion of, I need to have a business plan.
I need to find funding.
Yeah, my business plan is to be ready. I must find funding. Bro, I started my business, I think at 5,000. We bought stock for 2,000. The gorilla that we bought was 3,000. So literally, all it took, buying and selling and saving money. Look, I was fortunate because in the time that I was doing that, I was employed, But I guess even for anybody, even if you're not employed, but start small and gradually build your business. It's a different conversation when you go to a funder and say, I started this business with X amount of money. So far, I am doing X amount of money. So even when they find you, they know that your business is capable of expanding. You can take it to the next level. But sometimes we get caught up in, a business. I don't even have a business plan. I've never written a business plan for the Wing Republic. Everything works on gut feeling. Say, is this worth it? Here's an opportunity. And then I go for it. And that's why your question earlier about debit, it's literally that, go for it. You'll figure it out as you operate. Unfortunately, sometimes the lessons are painful, but you have to learn. I mean, that's why today you'll never convince me otherwise to open another shop in this economy, because I've learned. I think your initial question was, how did you open post-COVID? Because it was just driven by this ambition of opening, opening a shop here, opening a shop there, which is great, which is amazing. But now I've learned the lessons. How do I rebuild better? How do I make sure that those failures don't determine where we're going as a business? And that's what you need to get into as an entrepreneur on any level.
You're talking about gut feel, which is just like, is this right?
Yeah.
Is this wrong? Do we do this? Do we not? And it comes from you.
Yeah.
How do you develop that? But also, has there been a moment where it didn't work out for you and what you learned from that?
The reason why I'm here in the first place is because I followed my gut feel. Go to a market, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. I mean, I went to a market in Soweto. On the day that I went, there was no one selling chicken. Chicken is in my opinion, it's literally our staple as black people, when it comes to protein. This thing wasn't Soweto, there was no opportunity. I could have looked at it and said, oh, cool, whatever, But literally I saw that. 2 months later, I was selling chicken wings. And I grew from gut feel. I'm like, let me give it a shot. And I was employed. I really didn't have a need to open a business. But because I grew up in a family environment where my mother has been selling stuff, because I just didn't start being an entrepreneur when I started the Wing Republic. From high school, I was selling sweets. From varsity, I was selling like dashboard spray. I used to sell spices, So I've been in it. But with the Wing Republic in particular, is that, here's an opportunity. Let's try it out. And that's what gut feel is. Opening a shop in Braam, I didn't do any research. The shop was available. I used to be a trader at Neighbor Goods Market. And I was somewhat familiar with Braam. Opportunity came, I opened the shop. There was no research. Gut feel. Will it work? I think it can work. Maybe I can draw a couple of friends. It worked. I mean, I've been there for 8 years. It worked. So that's what gut feel is. It's just, Also, gut feel can have dire consequences. Devin, at no point did I consider the logistics of having to move stock from here to KZN. I mean, I took a big shot because I thought, hey, Florida Road is going to get pumping. Little did I know that the current trend in KZN, people are grooving, dining and partying further up north, like your Palitos, them Mhlanga. That's the in thing. Go to Florida today, it's not the Florida that I grew up knowing, but everything was happening further up north. Gut feel. Because I went to Florida because I thought, hey, it'll work. Doesn't, But you gotta get into a position where if it feels right for you, do it. Because you can I'm telling you now, you can write a business plan and have all the SWOT analysis. I don't care what you say. If your heart is not in it, it's not gonna work.
Sure.
It's not gonna work. Because entrepreneurship is driven by you. That's why you're an entrepreneur. You have to drive your own business. And a lot of times it's always your gut feel, your common sense, your knowledge, your experience, your context. To say, will this work? Yeah, it can.
Sure. See, why were you nervous?
No, hold on. I wasn't. But I said though, I wasn't nervous. I'm not. I guess because I talk too much sometimes in person, and now when you think there's a camera, you're like, But I mean, we're here now.
Yeah.
We're here now. But I mean, it's been an interesting journey. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, I've never think I'd build something from chicken wings.
Yeah.
Not in my life, bro.
But also the longevity of this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You speak about legacy, and there was a day where I came to the shop and your son was there, and he like brought the food with the waiter. I was just like, it seems like a small thing, but it meant something to me just to see your son in your shop serving customers. What does legacy mean to you?
Legacy is about that. This is, my sons are forever proud, bro. Like, this is a family-owned business. This is my dad's business, Most of us as Black people didn't grow up with it, Like, even with us, like in general, you get taught to go to school, go to varsity, find a job, and that's about it, But not a lot of us can build this thing. And crazy thing is that most of us have got the experience. We've got the know-how of building businesses, we work, but it's also not everyone is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I literally, legacy for me is that, teaching my sons how to be self-sufficient. I was raised by a single parent that taught me how to hustle. Like, I'd go house to house selling spices. I'd go, So also as a human, as a person, I guess, confident. Guys, selling, being in sales teaches you so much confidence. Because you're literally approaching strangers. Hey, I'm selling X, Y, Z. That in itself teaches you confidence. And I guess it's a lesson that you'll carry with you for the rest of your life, whether it's corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur. And for me, legacy is about that, building something that my sons can look back and say, because of that man, we have what we have today. So that is legacy for me.
What do you think makes you a great entrepreneur?
Am I a great entrepreneur?
I guess so. Yeah. You truly are, because you're still here.
I'm still here, I guess. What makes me a great entrepreneur? I guess the ability to connect with people. I think the ability to connect with people. As humans, we spend, whether you like it or not, you're bound to engage with the human, one thing or another, So learning how to connect with people at different levels, whether it's my staff, my customers, my colleagues, that I guess is what makes me a great entrepreneur. As I talk to my entrepreneurs, you gotta be able to be a loudmouth, to sell your idea, to sell your product, to sell, to sell your story.
Yeah. Sure, man. I really appreciate you being brave to come onto this.
Thank you.
I appreciate the conversation we've had, and I always end these conversations with like a last one, which is what is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your journey?
What's one thing I know now that I wish I knew then? Friends, Like I guess then you always assume, then I always assume that when the going gets tough, my friends would always back me up. Not always the case, It's always, you always overstate your importance in other people's lives because that's how much you do for them. But you realize when you are in trouble or your business not doing well and you're wanting them to help you, those people won't necessarily be you when you need the help. I don't know if that makes sense, So I wish I'd known then not to necessarily invest in people. And when I say people, I'm talking like friends, relatives, whatever. Because sometimes we always think, no, when the going gets tough for me, it'll come through for me. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. So I just wish I had known then. But I think above everything else, everything that's meant to be will be, and I'm happy that I'm still here today.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, and the Wing Republic is, September this year, 11 years? So overall, I'm happy.
Sure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
To 11 more years and so much more.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate the invite.
Cool.
Ngiyabulela.